Hello, my name is Wes Howell. I work at Adobe, and I have been with Adobe for a bit over 17 years. The vast majority of that time has been spent working on the Premiere Pro engineering team. I came to Adobe as an outside creative, as somebody that was a shooter and an editor, and someone that has real-world experience using the software in a creative capacity. While working at Adobe, I've had the pleasure of working with a wide variety of different customers on just about any project that you could imagine. I've had the opportunity to explore all the different workflows inside of Premiere Pro, and it's something that I've very much enjoyed being a part of. Whether that's something as simple as a small YouTube project, a documentary film, or if we're getting into the weeds with broadcast workflows, or even some high-end film workflows, working on the software and improving the features is something that I've really enjoyed being a part of. I've wanted to put together a series of videos where I could walk through and explore some of these workflows while sharing some of my favorite tips and tricks that I've collected over the years. My idea being that some of these tips and tricks would be the things that I wish I would have known when I was a beginning editor. These videos are going to be targeted towards somebody that's starting to take Premiere Pro pretty seriously, using it on a regular basis, or maybe somebody that's just starting to make money with the product. So it's not necessarily geared towards the first-time user, but I think even first-time users will pick up some really useful tips and tricks. So while we explore the workflow and we cover some of these tips and tricks that I've collected, we're also going to be talking about modifier keys. Modifier keys can really make a big difference to your editing workflow inside of Premiere Pro. We're also going to cover some of the best keyboard shortcuts. Keyboard shortcuts that can really improve your overall efficiency and editing experience inside of Premiere. In our next video, we're going to jump right in and start talking about timeline workflows. I've always been a bit more of a timeline-oriented editor myself. It's just the area that I prefer to work in. We'll talk about some efficiency tips and tricks, and we'll also talk about a lot of ripple functionality, not just ripple edits, but ripple functions inside of the application. And we'll be leveraging some of these ripple functions in order to reduce excess gap creation inside of Premiere Pro. You may have heard about the concept of a magnetic timeline. A lot of people inside of Premiere Pro use Premiere Pro because it's not by default a magnetic timeline. But with these modifiers, you've got the best of both worlds, and we'll talk about using them to improve the efficiency of your edit, to reduce the amount of excess gaps that are created in your timelines. And we'll also be talking about just generally how to avoid major reconstruction or spending a bunch of time unnecessarily moving a bunch of assets around and fixing problems that might be caused by doing that. Then we'll move on and we'll also talk about using timelines as more organizational structures. We'll be looking at using timelines and marking these timelines up. We'll be using markers and labels and colors and even the track hierarchy itself to go through and organize and manage all of the content in our timelines. And we'll talk about using these labels and markers as a way to tag and organize our content. And of course, you can see how this would be extremely useful if you're passing projects from one editor to another, or you're working in a collaborative environment. We're also going to be taking a look at source monitor workflows. Source monitor workflows being more of an Avid style workflow, where you're loading clips into the source monitor first, typically before these ever make it into a timeline. We're going to be talking about the default source monitor workflow in Premiere Pro, and how a few keyboard shortcuts can really make a massive difference in improving that overall experience. Once we get our basic workflow of loading and browsing and trimming clips into the source monitor optimized just a little bit more, we're also going to be talking about some of the more advanced functionality that the source monitor offers, including inserts, overlays, and what you may have heard of as being called 3-point edits. The source monitor can be used to very precisely swap out sections or clips in more developed timelines, and so this can be a very easy way to swap out a new take or a new clip, and we'll look at some various ways to do that. In the very last video of this series, we're also going to be talking about pancake timelines. And pancake timelines are interesting because they will combine all of the different approaches and all of the different techniques that will be covered throughout the source of this video. You'll be using timelines as organizational structures, as reference material, and you'll be lining out your content into a number of different sequences. Think of these as source sequences, and then you'll be constructing a destination sequence moving content from source to destination. And this is a really powerful workflow because you can actually find yourself changing the entire way, not only the way that you edit, but the way that you build out your projects. And when you get into a proper timeline, or I should say a pancake timeline workflow, what you'll find is that you'll start to be incorporating some of the advanced functionality of the source monitor as well. So you'll be starting to incorporate, with a proper pancake timeline workflow, some patching techniques that include the proper way to insert and overlay and perform 3-point edits from the source monitor. All of these videos are going to be presented with neatly organized outlines that will show all of the different breakdowns of each topic and everything that's covered. I'll also be providing timestamps so you can really quickly jump to the exact sections that interest you most. Feel free to jump around or jump right into the sections that interest you most if that's what you'd like to do. I'm hoping at the end of this that you'll pick up a lot of useful tips and tricks that you'll instantly start applying to your editing. I hope that you'll actually be setting up some new keyboard shortcuts and trying some of these various techniques while you're watching these videos. I hope in the end that you pick up enough of efficiency tips that you feel like you're playing Premiere Pro a bit more like it's a fine instrument. I hope you find it not only more productive and more efficient, but more satisfying to use. So let's get started.